Are you feeling overwhelmed by taxes, uncertain about your business finances, or worried about protecting what you already have built? Well, you're not alone, and there's a better way. I'm Ashley Freeman. I'm a tax and asset protection attorney, and this is Tax and Money Mastery, where faith meets financial wisdom. Each week, I'll show you how to legally reduce your taxes, manage your money with clarity, and protect your business and personal assets so that you can focus on what truly matters most: God, family, and career. Proverbs 10:22 says, "The blessing of the Lord makes one rich. He adds no sorrow." So grab your coffee and settle in. This is a podcast you can't afford to miss. Hey y'all, welcome to Tax and Money Mastery. I'm Ashley Freeman, your host. And today we're going to deviate from tax a little bit, and we're going to talk more about asset protection. Disclaimer, while I am a tax and asset protection attorney, I am not your tax and asset protection attorney. So if any of these things sound like they may work for you, please make sure you contact your tax professional and or your legal professional, because these things may or may not apply to you in the state that your property is in. That is the most important thing, where your property is located. Some of what I'm going to talk about today will not work for your properties. Some of it will. It just depends. That's why you need to speak to your personal professional. All right, that being said, we're going to talk about anonymity for your properties that you own. Why do we care about anonymity? We care about anonymity because Suzie Slip and Fall is just around the corner waiting to take your property and all your money. So they're out there. We know they're out there. People that prey off of other people because they're broke. They've lived their whole life broke, and they see that you have money and they want to take it away. Anonymity is very important because Suzie Slip and Fall, if she falls in your property, whether she's like a tenant there or a tenant's guest, Suzie Slip and Fall is going to hire her attorney, who doesn't charge anything unless you win the case. So it's not costing her anything. That attorney is going to go and find out who owns that property, or at least try. And if you're on deed, on the title, guess who they're going for? You own that property. If nothing else, they know that you own that property, so they could probably get that property from you if they win. So let's give you some obscurity instead. A couple different ways we can do that. We definitely, if we're renting something out, we want to have the protection of an LLC. We almost never put property in a C Corp or an S Corp. And there's numerous tax reasons for that. We don't put appreciating assets in S Corps and C Corps. Just keep that in mind, okay? I know some of you already have that situation. It's not a great situation, but you're going to have to leave it in there and deal with it. For those of you that are buying properties, don't ever do that. All right, so we're going to utilize LLCs and we're going to utilize land trusts. Land trust is just a name that, where I work, we made that name up so that we could differentiate it from like a living trust. And so a land trust is just a trust. It's a grantor trust, like any other trust. Like you would put your car into a trust that you would then give to your whoever when you pass away. Same kind of thing, basically. How we're going to create anonymity. We want the protection of an LLC, but we want more protection than that. We don't want them to know that we own it. We want anonymity. Most attorneys are lazy. We count on that to help us with our anonymity. Here's how we achieve anonymity. In many states, we can use an LLC, and when that LLC is filed, we already have filed for a Wyoming LLC. And there's many reasons why we use Wyoming LLCs. We'll get to that later. But we've already filed a Wyoming LLC. So let's call it our Mountain Home LLC in Wyoming. And Mountain Home LLC in Wyoming, we are the owners of it. Okay? We are the either managers or members. Either way. Probably members. We'll usually go with members. Okay, so if I'm a member of Mountain Home Wyoming LLC, and I am going to purchase a property in, I don't know, let's say Michigan. I go and I purchase my property in Michigan. Depending on the lender, I can either purchase it in an LLC or I can purchase it in my name and then put it into the LLC. The LLC has to be located in the state where the property is. Otherwise, if you just put it directly into the Wyoming LLC, then you have no standing in that state. In case you need to kick somebody out, you have no standing. And so you can't take them to court to kick them out. And then you have to go through a whole process to get that done. So when we form the Michigan LLC, LLCs have members and they have managers. We are going to make the Wyoming Holding Company the member of the Michigan LLC. There's a reason for that. We're going to talk about it in a minute. And then I am the manager of the Wyoming LLC. So Suzie Slip and Fall. She falls and cracks her head open in your property. She goes and she finds a lawyer, and the lawyer says, all right, yeah, we'll sue him. And they see you at the property doing things, and they know who you are. And so they try and find out if you own the property. They think that you do, but they don't know for sure. So the attorney goes and says, yeah, let's see what they got. So they look and they see that the property that Suzie Slip and Fall fell at belongs to this Mountain Home Wyoming LLC. So now let's go see who Mountain Home Wyoming LLC belongs to. Well, they can't find out. That is not public record in Wyoming. You can't find out who owns Mountain Home Wyoming LLC. That provides you with anonymity. But now let's say they decide to continue. They don't know what you have, who owns it for sure, but they're going to continue anyways because this is an overzealous new lawyer. They get through the process and come to find out you're guilty because, I don't know, you never fixed the handrail on the porch, and that's why Suzie slipped and fell. And so it's your fault. So you have a judgment against you now for $1 million. So now you're going to have to bring into court everything that you own. You're going to have to show all your assets. They're going to find out now that you own the Wyoming LLC that owns the Michigan LLC. They can put a judgment against the Wyoming LLC for the property to try and get the Michigan property, but they can't. So Wyoming, the second great reason that we use Wyoming LLCs is because Wyoming has the best charging order protection out there. And what charging order protection does is it states that the judgment that's placed against it, they can only take what the Wyoming LLC distributes to you, the owner. Well, who's the one that controls the distributions? You are. You own it, right? So we're not going to make any distributions. We're going to make loans. We're going to make distributions to other entities that we may own, or to our family member, or we're going to make a distribution to another company that we own. As long as you're not making a distribution to yourself, they can't touch it. So the judgment can sit there in place forever. It doesn't matter. So that's why charging order protection is more important. I would take charging order protection any day over anonymity. If somehow we screw up our anonymity and our name gets out there that we own the Mountain Home Wyoming, then we have messed up our anonymity, but we still haven't blown our charging order protection. So in other states, using an LLC is not the best option. Other states, it really depends. There's different things in different states. Other states sometimes will use a land trust, and then the beneficiary of the land trust will be the LLC. A land trust doesn't give you any protection at all, but the LLC does. We'll use those two things in conjunction with each other. Sometimes we just use a land trust. Again, that doesn't give you any protection at all. but it may give you some anonymity, depending on the state. Other states, if you do anything with transferring anything into anything, like Pennsylvania, they're gonna charge you. We do something we call pocket deeds in Pennsylvania. So it really just depends on your state. And like I said at the beginning of this podcast, make sure you check with your either legal provider or your tax professional. See what can be done with the property that you're looking at. That's all I've got for today. Thank you for listening to our podcast. I hope that this has blessed you in some way. If it has, please feel free to share it with someone else that this may be helpful to. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.